Hey, welcome to Midtown Comics TV. This is Rich. I'm here with Mario, Kristen, and random person we kidnapped, Tom King.
Thank you for kidnapping me. I appreciate it. It makes me feel very special.
We're making him sign copies of Batman 75 here.
Forcing
the star of City of Bane. It's pretty exciting, right?
Can I just make a point that I'm pretty sure you're kidnap proof, and if we actually tried to kidnap you, it would not go very well for any of us.
He definitely has a tracker on him. I mean,
you made it. You made it to the other side of the world and back.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything we do to you is going to stop that.
We'll see. He's still got books to sign. It's not over for him right now.
I feel like they'd be like, he left. He deserves it. He knew what he was got into. Yeah, that's his problem now.
To start, I know, Mario, you had something to ask.
I have a question. So nobody knows this, but the first time I ever drove a creator, it was Tom King, and
you swore us off ever since.
No, I've driven many creators since then, and I think that first one really gave me a good idea of how I should talk to everybody.
Because I did it
Because I corrected
wrong the first time.
I corrected him. Cons like, don't talk to me that way. Talk to me this way.
I'm busy. Just drive.
Don't look me directly in the eyes.
During that ride,
Yes.
you expressed that you were experiencing writer's block at that moment.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
How'd you get over that?
I mean, writer's block is a real thing that hits people really hard. The only way I get over it is just the deadline. I mean, that's the worst thing to say, but just I'm a deadline writer, and I thank God for that, because if I didn't, like, every Friday I have to turn in a script. Every Monday I start a short story. Every Friday it has some sort of ending. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't have that, I would just be in my head constantly sort of cycling and cycling. But just having that deadline at the end of the week where it's like, whatever this is, it has to go in and someone else has to read it.
Yeah.
You
that
have
gets
to
me
commit
over.
to it.
Yes, I have to commit to it. I was like, this idea has to go, and it'll be as good as I make it.
Yeah, same here. That's how I got through college. Knowing that the paper was due the next day.
Yeah.
I can write it now.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It
All
has
20
to be
pages
there.
right now.
Exactly.
Hey, I've written some of my best papers
the
night before. I mean, like,
Definitely.
But it's a certain type of what I call a clutch player brain, where your brain wakes up at the last minute. Not everybody's does that. I've learned that.
Mine doesn't. I got out of some of my
people.
best papers, but that's where I learned some of my best excuses.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this was.
So I still learned.
It's a learning experience. Yeah.
I won that Eisner for the Swamp Thing short story.
Yeah, you
I
did.
did with Jay Fabok, and short story, 38 pages. I don't know why this is short, but and the way that came about was literally Jay had a gap in his schedule and texted me like on a Monday, being like, "Hey, can we do something?" And I was like, "What do you want to do?" He's like, "I like Swamp Thing." I was like, "All right, yeah." And I text my editor, and he knows my schedule, and I'm like, "Hey, can I do this Swamp Thing with Jay? Because he draws so good. I'll draw." And he's like, "If you can turn it in like in 2 days, you can do it, or else you'll mess up your whole schedule." And I was like, okay. And I had 2 days to write 38 pages, which usually I have 5 days to write 20 pages.
Right.
And I was like, Swamp Thing walking through the snow. I was like, that's easy enough. And the fact that was what won, I was like, what? I've spent so much more time on so many other things. This was the one that sort of hit. So who knows when the magic comes. And when
Well, since Mario drove you around your writer's block, you won 4 out of 5 Eisners.
You're my lucky driver, so everywhere I go, you're driving.
Take my number when you leave.
Yeah. Every time an Uber shows up, I'm like, "Are you Mario?" I'm like, "Mario!" And like, "Get out of here!"
You know what?
I'm waiting.
I hear that from a lot of Connecticut people too. They're just like, "We want you back every time."
Fantastic.
Then you have to go back to Connecticut for that.
I love Connecticut, and Connecticut knows this and loves me.
Aw.
Your vest.
None of that's true.
That's what I drive.
If Mario was a superhero, the vest would be part of the uniform.
That's
like
what
it
I'm
would
doing
be-
here.
Yeah, you're branding the vest.
Yes. Well, when I first started driving and doing other things, before I started working here, I said to myself, I want my own uniform. And this was it. There was this ridiculous gray vest and this happy face, which honors not only my aunt, but a couple of ideas in my head and how, no, I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but the comedian is a great character.
Yes.
And helped me through some tough times and emulating that kind of nihilistic
So you're
persona.
pro JFK assassination, is what you're trying to say in front of an audience.
Yeah,
I don't-
throw some fuel on that.
I prefer the idea that he tried to prevent it rather than was there doing it. I don't really.
None of that's true
Those
either.
before Watchmen books are. I mean, those Before Watchmen books are hit and miss. I think the only one of that set is worth reading is the Ozymandias set, and the Comedian set completely contradicts the other Comedian stories that are told during that Before Watchmen stuff, so I discount that. I'm not pro-assassination. I do love that movie. I registered as a Democrat because of JFK, and when I asked my grandfather about that day, he actually cried, and I always remembered that.
So that's interesting.
You should also be pro The Button.
I'm totally
written by
pro Button.
Tom King.
Love that story.
Yes, that's
Loved
why
The Button, actually.
After hearing Mario say this thing, I'm waiting for Tom King's next series, Batman, City of Mario. That'll be a good time.
all vests.
All best take over Gotham.
I'm going to say this to every creator we talked to so far. You cannot take my Uber stories. Directly. No, those are mine. I'm
Mario.
writing those.
Oh,
So,
Court of Vests.
Court of Vests. Oh, that works.
closet
It's
of
copyrighted on
Closet of
Midtown
Vests.
Comics TV. You can't take
You
it.
saw it.
It is
first
stolen.
there.
Again, I am under a deadline. By Friday,
Who knows what's rolling
Swamp
around?
Thing walking through a Court of Vests.
Okay.
Listen, if Swamp Thing
gets a
becomes
vest.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing becomes an Uber driver and gets a vest.
Oh, I think we just won last night.
I would-
Swamp Thing would be great on TaskRabbit, actually.
What do you think Swamp Thing's rating on Uber would be?
Well, I'm sure he's smelly.
I
Yeah,
want to say
and
like
people
a
don't like
3
smells.
Like #1 comment, smells like a swamp in there. Like
Yeah, but can he like bring you with him into the green for like fast transportation, or is it like?
That's
do
cheating.
you think he turns around and says,
or
"Don't
is
forget
he
to tip
actually
the
driving?
green"?
Yeah.
That's
Because if he's
cheating.
driving, then I don't know.
I feel like he hands out those psychedelic sweet potatoes. You know,
And you just
and-
think
yeah,
at your destination, you've gone nowhere.
You get in the car, he just rips it off, have a spore.
yeah.
Here, elevate your mind while we drive to McDonald's.
So winning the Eisners for Miracle Man. That's pretty
Mr.
cool.
Miracle, sir.
Mr. Miracle, I'm sorry.
Miracle Man is a different thing.
It totally is. I got so caught up in Swamp Thing.
In
Uber.
Miracle.
I'm gonna have to cut that.
Cut that. So
Everyone calls it Miracle Man.
we're gonna do a hard edit then. Winning the Eisners.
Not editing that out.
I deserve that.
I went on the
Mr.
Seth,
Miracle.
I went on the Seth Meyers show, which was awesome, and he was the super coolest person ever. But he comes in beforehand to talk to me. My wife's there, and it's very cool because he's talking to me. And he's like, "Tom, I'm huge. I'm a super big fan of yours. I love all your stuff, especially Miracle Man. Miracle Man is my favorite comic." And I'm like, "Well, I guess I got to retitle it Miracle Man now." I'm like, "I'm going with this, Seth."
Yeah, nice.
At least you didn't do it when you were up there, and you're just like.
Well, yeah.
No, when I was up there, he's like, "You have Tom, you have 2 children, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have 2 children. I have 3 children."
But no, that's not wrong. You do have two.
I do have 2 other. Yeah, I have
Plus
2.
one.
semi-true.
Yeah.
So one of my kids is at home, like, "Oh!"
Yeah, which one did you leave out? Yeah, which one of us?
That's funny. That's funny. And each one you tell it was the other one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right. That's the guy with
I
strategy.
was thinking of you, so you were definitely
Right.
in that count.
So you almost did the clean sweep.
I know.
4 out of 5.
God damn you, Giant Days took down Batman.
Did you give him like the side eye and stuff like that?
I tripped him on the way up. I
Nice.
knew it
Nice.
was. Yeah, that's what they get.
That's why that part of the story goes dark when you hear about the eye.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Just somebody shows up, grabs him off the stage with a sack over his head, he disappears.
So, Mr. Miracle, did that help you? Did that allow him to do like the Strange Tales coming out?
Yes, Strange Adventures.
Strange
you cannot
Adventures.
get.
I can't.
Dude.
Yes.
So fried.
He
by
also
today.
can't say
This is not
Italian
X-Men.
names.
This is Batman.
See, when I opened this up and I'm like, "Where's Spidey?" I don't see him.
I'm confused.
But here is Superman almost throwing up on a hot dog.
Nice.
It's up there.
I could see him choking on a hot dog.
Why would you see that?
I'm just saying, like, you know, somebody like that, somebody who's always constantly thinking about, all right, I can't really give my all, but otherwise I'm going to kill somebody. So when they go to eat a hot dog, he might just chew it too fast and too hard, and you know.
Do we even? I mean, like
Tom, can you write that
Metropolis,
story?
like
I'm calling it The Death of Superman, since no one's used that title.
Death of Superman on a stick.
What
Yeah.
would be great? What would be great is, and you guys can, anybody can steal this one. I want to see this. I want to see an entire book of every single writer giving 2 pages of how to kill Superman. How would you like to see Superman killed?
I feel
Would
like
you
they.
call
I think
it-
choking on a
I
hot
feel like
dog
they
would be
did
pretty
something
good.
like
You
that.
call it just like
Tom did one where
contingency?
they're killing Lois Lane on every
the
page.
contingency
The
project,
contingency project.
or
I
like
that.
Batman's.
Batman hires a
tool
bunch
belt.
of people.
Yeah.
Batman has a think tank.
Yeah.
Of like the smartest people he can find.
that's a
and he's
good
just
idea.
like, right, nobody can say anything after we leave here, but I want a list.
Batman doesn't need a think tank. Batman is a think
so
tank.
either.
Yeah,
Listen,
he is.
I have had many conversations and fights about how Batman can literally just take anybody down. I'm sorry.
Not if he has no
Prove
prep
me
time,
wrong.
he can't do anything.
Without prep time, I think he'd be even better.
No.
Because he's got to think on the fly.
That's not true.
Prep time will give you, yes, the 100% definite Batman wins outcome. However, no prep time, he can take you down.
All right, so Tom, since you write this guy,
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're in his head.
you write X-Men that has Batman in it, apparently, because I can't get anything right today. So Batman, no prep time. Can he take out any superhero, or is he kind of screwed?
I'm writing this Walmart Superman, World W, whatever it's called, and which I love. I love with Andy Kubert. And the last issue, the little girl asks him just the question. It's like, who would win in a fight, you or Batman? And he goes, Batman. And he goes, why? He's like, oh, she's like devastated. She's like, why? I love you. Why would Batman win? And he goes, it would mean so much to him. Let him have it. I would be fine,
Oh, man.
Wow.
That hurts the heart.
It's sadly true. Yeah.
So all the stuff you've been writing, you've been doing this great Batman run. You got Batman Catwoman coming out next year. You got and you're working on movie screenplay. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about? Like New Gods. How did it happen? Did Warner Bros. Read Mr. Miracle and be like, ooh, get me Tom King? Or
Get me that Miracle Man guy.
Get me the Miracle Man.
And I walked in, they're like, aren't you British?
You're not Alan Moore? What are you doing here?
So, like, I cut my hair. This is what I look like now. It was all an act.
Want me to do some wizard stuff?
Yeah,
I'll do
well,
it.
wizards.
So yeah, definitely want to hear a little bit about how
Myers
that
says
came
he's our
about.
guy. Bring him in.
Seth Meyers vouched for you. So, how did it come about? Like, how does this
I feel
happen?
like I'm not allowed to tell the whole origin story of it, but it was directly sort of from. It was from Ava DuVernay, who's co-writing with me and directing the movie. It was from her. I think I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, it was. She was the one who brought me on board. So I was fortunate enough to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Handpicked.
All right.
All right.
That negates our bet because I thought there was going to be solo writer. So Richard and I have a bet, $10 if we still know each other by then.
So you just owe me $10 now, is what you're telling everybody on camera.
I feel that had you written the screenplay, I'm sorry. I feel that the screenplay that you write is going to win an Oscar. I do. I have this vision in my head as this movie being the one that gets comic movies the Oscars. Okay, and if I originally said that it would be best original screenplay, but then I realized today it can't be best original screenplay. It has to be best adapted screenplay because you're not creating the characters yourself. So
Unless, are there any original characters in the movie?
It's all original characters. It's called the New Gods. It's called
New Gods Plus.
New Gods Plus.
So if you're co-writing, then it doesn't negate the bet. I still say the screenplay for this movie will win an Oscar, and I'm keeping
think
my
you
$10.
already
I'm keeping our
forfeited.
$10 bet. No. If the screenplay doesn't win an Oscar, I'll give you $10.
You went through a lot just now, didn't
It's just
you?
the New
did.
Gods
There were a lot of
walking through
emotions.
snow for an hour and a half.
If I see
Listen.
the New Gods walking through snow, I'm going to be like, that's where Tom hit writer's block.
If Darkseid becomes an Uber driver, I'm gonna be really upset.
If Darkseid has a vest,
Please give Darkseid.
He's got a jumper and a
So-
skirt.
That's true.
it's true.
He pulls it off.
It fits.
That
It fits
also
the
reminds me,
outfit.
you teased an image with saying a shirt that says Darkseid is. Darkseid in the movie? How much of the movie? You the villain? What's going
Let
on?
me outline it for you.
Superman in the movie?
Yeah.
What's going on? You got a Ryan?
I can
do
say
it.
that it's a joy to work on. I can say that, and it's and I feel like my job in this is like Jack Kirby is this super genius of comics, sort of one of the sort of founding fathers of our industry.
Sure.
and he was this guy from what he called the ghetto from the Lower East Side, who was a war, fought in the war, and created this. And this was his magnum opus. This was his grandest thing he did when he was finally free of all the editors and everything. And to me, it's his most genius work. And I feel like I'm working with with Ava, and although I feel like she's a similar figure, and she, this girl who was from Compton and created this whole studio way to look at the world, and she's changing pop culture in a similar way to way Kirby changed pop culture. And so I feel like my job is to link these two sort of geniuses, and if I can do that, then we can create something magical. So the pressure's on me.
Yeah. Nice.
Sounds it.
It sounds like you're going to need a miracle.
I think we should end it.
Be really dumb if she's like, sounds like you're going to need an Orion.
I was going to just be like, need a miracle man, but then I was like, that's wrong again.
Still wrong.
Still wrong. Still can't think today.
Still funny. Still funny and wrong.
Tom's going to kill me when we leave today. It's going to be fun.
Fun. You're going to be left at the back of a train on the LIRR.
He's like, I have training from some previous job that I had. And if you don't know what that is, you should look that up.
Just
seriously.
wiki. Just look him up as wiki.
It's fun.
When I was
You just say it because my Wikipedia photo is at your shop. That is
all
what
comic book creators, all Wikipedia. Yes. Look at any comic book creator. Their wiki photo is at Midtown Comics. Oh, I'm not wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
Midtown Batman.
Midtown Batmans.
All right, so you got Batman, Catwoman coming out. That's next year.
Yes, Clayman and I.
Clayman, you guys worked on Heroes in Crisis together, all that stuff.
Yes, in my opinion, the best artist in comics.
Yes,
Clayman.
bringing the band back together.
Definitely. He's definitely a great artist. He visually helps. He pairs with your words very nicely and everything like that. It's really good stuff. So is that going to spawn out of this City of Bane story? Is this going to be kind of like a little bit of a reset? Without getting into too much details, like how much of your run on this Batman book ties into this Batman Catwoman book? Because it's a maxi, you said. It's a 12 series max.
It's a 12-issue series. So, I mean, basically all of it. I mean, this is the end of the run. So throughout the entire, basically 100 issues, there's been two themes to the whole thing. One, Bane is bad, and two, Batman loves Catwoman. And so the sort of Bane is bad thread wraps up in the City of Bane, which is sort of this 10-issue ultimate climax thing where like everything's coming together in a huge battle of good versus evil.
Great.
Which I've always wanted to write. And so that ends at 85, and then the Catwoman loves Batman story is what starts Batman Catwoman. This sort of 12-issue series. It's about their romance, and it'll be self-contained, so that when it comes out, you can read it like a novel. It's going to hopefully be like Vision or like Mr. Miracle.
Okay.
But all of that momentum that we've built up over these 100 issues, where we built this, this couple that was willing to get married and then didn't get married, and then sort of coming back together, all of that momentum we thrust into that book.
That sounds great. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful and heart-rendering, and
everything it needs to be, because
It's
people
gonna make you cry.
and Phantasm is in it. And that's
I
right.
forgot Phantasm.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's really
the
cool.
premiere of Phantasm in the DCU.
Wow.
I know.
Andrea Beaumont?
That's been
Oh yeah.
Nice. Excellent. I don't know. Sometimes, like, I was looking at Arkham Knight in Detective 1000, and I'm like, you're not Jason Todd. And I was wasn't happy with Jason Todd in the game, but I was still just like, you're not Jason Todd. Who are you?
I'm pretty sure we were warned about that.
We were.
Yeah.
That's why I
sure.
wanted to ask. I wanted to see if I was Andrea. Ooh, I like that. I'm very excited about it. I'm looking at this Bane. Is Bane your favorite Batman villain? Who's your favorite Batman villain?
My favorite Batman villain is obviously Kite Man.
Obviously.
Who's in issue 76? It's out whenever next.
little plug and drop for the next issue.
For all the Kite Man fans out there, like, I didn't pick up 75, but I'm getting 76.
I'm jumping on
I gotta get
board.
more.
There's some guy he's like time to put the kite collection back together, doing it. So,
But is he my favorite Batman villain? I don't know. I love Bane as a villain. I like him. He's not my favorite origin story. That I retold in issue 9 or 10, where he's 4 years old. He's thrown into a prison cell, left there for dead, and every night the prison cell floods, and he has to tread water all night long until it goes down. And the only way he can eat is that when it floods, fish come in. He bite them with his tongue.
Oh,
He's
wow.
4 years old, right?
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
stays there for 17 years, from ages of 4 to 21, without any human contact. And any night he can just stop treading water and drown. And yet he survives and comes out of that. To me, that's like the willpower to do that is the only thing I can think of in the entire DC universe that could match Batman.
Yeah.
Willpower wise.
Yeah, it's willpower.
It really is
It
a
is.
battle of wills.
Yeah.
I love that Bane's also one of the only guys too who can always get like all the villains together to fight Batman.
That's right. Yeah,
He's one of the few guys that can do it.
He's an effective leader.
Yeah,
He
he is.
is. He comes and he's like, all right, guys, listen. You know,
We all have something in common, yeah.
And you also got the Thomas Waynes running around this story. You got the villains have taken over the Gotham City Police Department. Hugo Strange is the commissioner. You got Riddler as like one of the cops on the street and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's this hideous
interesting.
reflection of Gotham. So you have, the Riddler and Joker as Bullock and Montoya, and you've got Hugo Strange as Gordon, and you've got Ventriloquist as Alfred, and Thomas as Batman, and it's just this effed up.
And this really needs to be its own book too, because it's a really cool idea and premise. I think that's a lot of
it's one
fun.
of those.
Yeah, so all the cops on the street are, so you get pulled over and there's
That's what-
Hush.
There's Hush. Yeah, that was
terrifying.
great. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's everybody.
It was just a wrong U-turn.
I think in issue 77, the Scarecrow pulls over a guy for having a leash that's too long and tries to shoot him in the face and kill the dog. So
Wow.
it's a messed up place. You don't want to be walking around Gotham these
Yeah,
days.
Yeah.
it's pretty dangerous.
And and just one thing to talk about, because I think it's fun detail, because very few people could say they did. You were a writer on both Action 1000 and Detective 1000.
Yeah.
How does that feel? That's got to be kind of crazy, because you grew up a fan of comics and stuff like that. So I mean, that's kind of a weird thing to be able to say on top of like Eisner, multiple-time Eisner winner, and writing this Jack Kirby screenplay for a movie and stuff like that, and all this. But I mean, just on a basic comic book level, being able to say I worked on the 1000th issue of Batman and Superman.
I don't know. I feel like that stuff could get to your head pretty quick. Like, the only reason I worked on the 1000th issue of those two is because I happened to be the guy when the 1000th issue came on. Like, if it had happened 5 years before or 10 years before, it would have been Morrison and Gaiman. 10 years before, it would have been Elliott and Magan. And
But
John
it wasn't.
Byrne.
It was you.
Yeah, but it's just a coincidence of numbering. It's not. I don't want to.
Coincidence of numbering.
Yeah, I won't want to blow myself up too much.
Don't,
I feel like.
well,
I mean, I'm
give
super
yourself a little credit,
I mean, how are you going to classify yourself after you do win this Academy Award? that
Oh, yeah, of
I'm
course.
predicting.
Yeah.
You
Or
can-
half an Academy
You
Award.
can switch off of Eisner Award winner to Academy Award winner.
No, Eisner's more important. Because I'm a comics first. I'll always be comics first. That was my medium growing up. It's my medium now. It's where, if I have a free hour, I'm picking up a comic book, not a movie. So,
All right,
yeah,
well-
I'm most proud of my work in this medium.
5 years from now, we're going to see Tom, and we're going to be like, what comic do you have coming out? He's like, the right movies.
Who are you?
I left that life behind.
He'll just look at us and be like, who are you guys?
I'll talk to you later.
Can you imagine? Oh,
Yeah,
no, that will never happen. I'm too old and crusty.
No, come on. But this is it's tons of fun. Your run's been, everybody loves it. You know, everybody hated you on Batman 50 for not letting Batman.
Oh my
and Catwoman
God,
get
people
it.
are
Also,
So
it's
brutal.
also a few months later, or it was a while later, you did the Walmart Superman, and nobody actually read the thing when Lois imaginarily gets killed 12 times on 12 different pages.
I like that issue.
It's a great issue. Everybody got mad. I'm like, nobody realizes that he's paranoid. Like that, this is what he's imagining that is happening while he's deep in space.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was an issue about when
When
you're
you worry
paranoid-
about someone.
Yeah, when you call someone and they don't answer the phone.
Right,
What do you have
right.
going? You see them in the gutter. You see them in the
Always.
worst places possible. And what Superman, whose job is to save everyone, he must see the worst version of everything because he's always on the
true.
edge of the.
So
I don't know. I liked it.
I think taking your worst thoughts and turning them into a story is always great.
Yeah, that seems to be how I made my career.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, I mentioned when we were in the,
right.
when we were in the car.
I've been
with,
riding that wave.
Nice.
When we were in the car with Clayton Crane, I mentioned a book by Warren Ellis, which is that he thought of his worst possible thought and then wrote a story around it. I said the wrong name then. It's called Scars, not Dark Blue. Just want you two to know that. So you're the only two
yeah,
people
all right,
who
well,
in the
messes up
room
with
or
this
around
joint.
here that would know,
No, we
because I cut that out of the end video.
You a Superman or a Batman guy? I mean, I feel like the hat gives it away.
He did specifically
But I
ask for
have
that hat.
Batman's shirt, so I
I feel like the hat gives it away.
It must be Superman because you don't want Batman to be happy, apparently.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm torturing him
Must be, yeah.
I don't know. When I was young, I thought Superman was for boring old people.
Yes.
And now that I'm a boring old person, I'm like, oh, Superman's for me.
Right?
So
have to grow
you
into
have to
it.
grow.
Is that because you, Rich, you've been a Superman fan your whole life? Do you feel like, I've known you for a very long
both.
time. I feel like you've always been secretly a crotchety old man, you know?
Oh no, I'm
Do you-
overtly a crotchety old man. No, I was always a Superman guy. I find it hard to relate to Batman because I've never had money. Like, I don't know what
guess.
that's like, or a cool car.
I look past that with Batman. I feel like I relate more to Batman than Superman. Even
Really?
growing up,
I think Batman's got
I've
the
always had
cooler
more of
costume.
a love for Batman than Superman.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like
But-
Thomas Wayne's Batman.
I think Batman's just a cool character because I call him the capitalist superhero because he really is like the king of capitalism. Because, like, at the end of the day, capitalism says, if you have enough money, you can do whatever you want.
Even
and
wear
this
your
is a
underwear
normal
over your
dude, and
pants.
he's like, I want to be a superhero and go toe to toe with people with actual powers. And capitalism says, hey, if you have enough money, and he's like, here's the money. And it's
Do
like,
it.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I think a lot of people either love Batman because they want to be him or because they.
With him.
Yeah, really? I don't know. I haven't met any, like, maybe I just haven't looked at very hard, but I haven't met a lot of women who are like, Bruce Wayne is so dreamy. Like, no one cares. Like, no one cares about Bruce Wayne.
I say Superman is easier to write than Batman, at least for
See,
me.
you'd be the minority
Definitely.
there.
Yeah, because when you write Batman, I feel like you're in the shadow of Frank Miller. Whenever I look at any story I'm writing, I'm like, this is great. I wrote this as good as I could, as well as I could, even.
And it
if I
is-
knew English.
And it is not Dark Knight Returns.
And it's not Dark Knight Returns. It's not It's not
Not
year
Year
one.
One.
Like almost like the platonic ideal of Batman stories
Right.
has been done, and you can approach it, but you can never get there. It's like infinity or something. Now Superman. I mean, Alan Moore did fantastic Superman stuff, and there's
Right.
brilliant Superman stuff. There's the Jeff Loeb stuff, but I don't think that ideal, like the ideal Superman story for me, is like the middle hour of the first Superman movie. It's like,
Right.
Yes.
like it hasn't been. You don't have that shadow over
Yeah.
you as much. There's. You feel like, oh, I could write the best Superman story somehow. It's probably overconfidence, but
Nah.
in that way, it's easier.
So I think you have to be more clever around a Superman story because it's just easy enough to just go, oh, he just punches him. It's over.
Oh,
You
well,
know?
I mean, Batman's the same. Like I remember,
Batman is the same way.
I remember first getting
Well, I
Batman.
think you have to figure out how Batman gets there. How
But-
Batman wins.
After Snyder's Batman was like he always had like the cool science thing. Like he always, like there was always he could. I remember one Snyder thing. He took off his ears and they turned into things that he was throwing and stuff like he saw. When I first started in Batman, I realized I was like, oh, I can't. If I use that, it's like it's too much. Like I like he can solve any problem just by having anti-Bane repellent in his belt.
Right.
Anti-Bane
Which he
repellent.
probably does.
Right, which
I mean, if you develop
I
the shark
really-
repellent, you might as well keep going.
Really going to be let down if that's not at the end of this book, Tom.
Yeah.
Really going to be like
That is- yeah,
He's
the
got
end.
Bane's face on the bottle.
Yeah, with a little Ghostbusters thing.
Now, I know we've seen Batman over the years sort of evolve with society, right? Like he's become darker over time. If you look at just how he's expanded.
Yeah, he's usually a reflection of sort of what society wants to
Yes,
be.
yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like Superman hasn't gotten quite the same treatment. And
Yeah.
do you think it's just because he's a simpler character and there's less complexity there? Or do you think maybe it's time for, Superman to get a little bit of a facelift again?
No, I think you're right that there's more flexibility in what Batman can be. In terms of, but maybe that's wrong because Batman's always usually like if you ever write Batman dialogue, you're never writing long speeches. He's always very short, and if Batman when fighting, it's always hard to write Batman fight scenes because he doesn't talk while he fights. Like you write,
Right.
I used to write Grayson for a living, right? Dick Grayson fight scene, he's just chitter chattering the whole time.
Yeah.
But you write Batman fight scene, you're like, well, this is. I mean, I did a whole where just grunting, right? Like Batman doesn't even have any reason to say, oh, this is my plan.
I don't know, man. Batman Damned has a lot of really long monologue-y.
That's true.
Moments from
It's
Batman.
got something
That is
very
Azarello.
long
I'm
in
just
it.
saying. I mean,
it
I'm-
definitely has something that's long. but I'm not 100% sure.
Get out of here.
You set the table and invited him to dinner on that one.
Fist
Yeah, come
away.
I'm you know.
Fist away from the
my
mic.
favorite line about that book, I'll attribute it to the person that it belongs to. It's Nick Mason of the Weekly Planet said that book, then that scene, that one shot makes Batman either more or less relatable, depending.
Irrelevant.
I'm gonna have to cut all that
Irrelevant.
We're
out.
all damned now.
I just mean, whatever. That was the
This
first
is what
time.
Tom's thinking in his head later.
Later.
I only bring it up because it was such an interesting,
True.
reading Batman Damned was such an interesting, a much more, I don't know, philosophical.
It was very philosophical.
Yeah,
very philosophical.
Which
and,
I never thought of Batman in that context. Not that
No.
I sort of had no feelings whether I was like, oh, this is not Batman, or like, oh, it should go in this direction. But at least, I find that every time I read different Batman things, it's clear that it's a different. Everybody tries to add something to it. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like Superman doesn't have the, almost like as a comic book writer, they're like apprehensive. Like Superman is some, gold standard that he's just a certain way and very pure and more of a purist attitude towards, tweaking his character. Do you find that, or?
I do think there is an ideal way to write Superman in the way there isn't with Batman. Yeah, I'd say there is definitely less flexibility. There is Superman does the right thing. Batman doesn't always do the right thing. Superman will always do the right thing. And when he doesn't do the right thing, it feels out of character. And you're like, oh, it just feels like the writer's wrong, not the character.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at you, Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
Always writing evil Superman.
That's true. He's Australian. Everything's upside down.
Everything's
Totally
totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different.
What did he tell us? They call sidewalks footpaths. What's that?
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
That's insanity.
That's insanity.
Go on.
That's the insane thing. Not the bees infesting his car or
Oh,
the
God.
spiders living in there.
bees
That
and
was the
spiders.
craziest
So
thing.
that was one of my favorite things.
See,
That
that's
was
why
hilarious.
he writes Superman so crazy because
Yeah.
he had bees in
I
his
mean,
car.
yeah. I mean, it's a less flexibility because you can't punch Superman, hurt him in the ribs and stuff like that. But Batman, it's like you can kind of get to him physically. You can kind of get to him mentally. Superman is just like you got to mess with the people around him. Whereas Batman really, you could kill another Robin. You know what I mean? Like he'll let you kill
please.
another Robin.
You know how many Robins he hasn't told us about?
Yeah. I was the third Robin. Sure you were.
Yeah.
But that's what's
Yeah,
good about people
third.
like
Yeah.
Bane
Definitely.
in this story is like Bane is always that character who's made to get the drop on Batman.
Yeah.
He always has the overarching plan. He's always got the fun stuff going on. And he comes off as the one villain Batman actually seems like kind of scared of.
Well, he broke the bat. I remember when I was 12 years
Yeah.
old, and I remember doing it. I remember genuinely scared of this character in a comic book who didn't exist.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like, oh my God.
Because it's like he
100%.
shows up in Gotham 2 pages later. It's like Batman's Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he
It's
gets
just
it.
like it's like everybody in Gotham's kind of dumb, But he always has these grand plans with. I'm going to involve every villain. I'm going to wear out Batman again.
Yeah.
I'm going to get him. And
I mean, he's a master tactician.
the only person in the comics to ever really be successful with it.
True.
And here you are with the City of Bane storyline. So,
But
how bad you messing up Batman in this one? You've been taking him on a ride.
For 25 issues, I've been messing
You've
up.
been
Batman.
really taking
Yeah,
him
no.
But that's
Bane broke him pretty bad.
yeah. Like by the time he gets the Bane, I feel like Batman's gonna go like, just kill him. Like I've had it.
I'm ready to go.
I mean, he had his own father beat the shit out of him at the bottom
In
of
the
a pit.
in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah,
just
so
like,
that's a low moment.
That's a low
I would
moment.
say that. I would
so
say
yeah,
that.
it's been going poorly, but yeah, I mean, what I like about Bane is it's that tactician. It's the idea that he's like 6 steps ahead, and I like his motivation, which is just simply like he conquers his little prison, and like someone told him he's like, who's the toughest person alive? And they're like, well, that's Batman. Batman could beat up Galactus if he had a chance, just like we were talking about before. It's like, all right,
Batman could beat up this guy that lives in a different universe.
yeah, exactly, right? And he's like, well, him. That's the one I'll take.
Yeah.
I'll take him. That's the top guy. That's my job now, my
Yep.
obsession. I take
Right.
the top guy down.
I agree with you that when he broke his back, it literally crushed me as a child.
Yeah.
Because again, I grew up with the Batman confidence, and he can do anything, and oh my God, they just broke his back.
No, that was weird in the early '90s, man. They're like, kill Superman.
Well,
break Batman.
I was
it
fine.
just like
I was fine with them killing
back
Superman.
thing.
The Batman thing disturbed me.
Says the guy in the Batman shirt.
But yeah, I don't think he was replaced by Azrael. Nobody liked that guy.
Nobody likes Azrael.
Hated that.
Azrael is nobody's favorite.
I have a figure of Azrael and his arm broke, and I refuse to glue it back.
That'll show him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just put him in a box and send him to DC.
I will say the one thing that I always liked about Batman's world versus Superman's world is that Batman's world has some like really tough chicks. Like,
True.
If you're gonna survive in Gotham, you have to be pretty hardcore. Like, Metropolis is kind of nice, you know what I mean? I mean, like, yeah, there's some crime there, but not the same.
It's like Toronto.
Wait, but
versus
Superman
New
has
York
Lois
City.
Lane.
Lois
tough.
and Supergirl
she's
and Wonder
tough,
Woman's
yeah,
around
she's tough.
sometimes.
But she's
You
not
know?
running
Power
around.
And she
Girl.
doesn't live in
Guns.
Metropolis, okay? Wonder Woman doesn't live in Metropolis.
I feel like the insurance rate is higher in Metropolis because he gets like the bigger threats wrecking that city, not Gotham.
Listen, you've been
I don't
to.
know, man. I feel like crime day to day in Gotham is like.
Tom, I'm going to leave it to you as the writer.
Yes.
Where's the insurance higher, Metropolis or Gotham?
Oh, it's Metropolis.
Thank you.
Really?
Oh, yeah, no. Gotham was like New York in the 70s. You could still get an apartment in the city. you
Right.
know?
It's low cost living.
Makes sense.
Metropolis is
fair.
like,
But then again,
you might have to deal with Brainiac, but
right,
Superman
but there
lives
you
here.
go. But because
know
you
what I
have
mean?
the bigger superhero in that city, you're gonna have bigger threats coming to that city.
Yeah, they're huge
That's why
robots
the-
constantly going through and tearing apart the
That's why the
beautiful
insurance is
That's
higher.
why
I'm
the
agreeing with
insurance
you.
is higher.
I'm
Yeah.
agreeing with you.
Give me my $10.
You're just trying to hustle us all.
So
to
when
make
that
money.
movie comes out and you do win your Oscar and stuff like that, are you going to call out the $10 on stage? Rich, yo, Mario, $10. Thanks, everybody. Walks away with an Oscar.
I want to thank my wife, my kids, and Mario for believing in me.
And the Midtown Comics chauffeur.
All right, here's a New Gods question I have before we wrap this up and we all go.
Yes.
Is New Gods in? Is it kind of like this?
It already sounds like I'm a no comment.
Yeah.
It's a no comment. I know,
It's
but
so
I'm
too complicated already.
It's
You
not
haven't
too
started.
complicated. Is this going to be tied into the overarching stuff that exists? Is it going to be more of its own thing? Is it like more like Joker?
Can we all say it at the same time?
Can I?
Yeah, this
No
definitely-
comment.
Yeah, no comment. I can't tell you that. Yeah, no, I have no answer for that.
Just write it down on this book.
All right, so that we have an actual final,
Yeah.
cool little thing to wrap up on.
I tried, everybody.
I'm excited for that Joker movie.
Yeah.
I really want to see that. I am very excited.
Why?
That it is totally outside of anything else I've ever seen before. What I love about DC is Elseworlds. I love that
They
I
got
can.
you.
Yeah, I love that I can pick up a book. It has nothing to do with anything. It gives me a completely wacky alternate version of my favorite characters, and I love it. I love What If, and I love Elseworlds. So when I saw that first trailer, I was like, I'm all for this.
I don't want.
Really?
I don't want to.
Why
Never
not?
have.
Because I don't want Joker origin stories. I like not knowing what his deal
I
is.
agree with that. I agree with that in a way, but I am very excited about him having his own film because my favorite thing about The Dark Knight is that it's a Joker movie that Batman happens to be in.
But I feel
Yeah.
I feel like the movie could easily get around that aspect of it. I mean, like at the very you could even do like an end credit scene where you just find out it was all in his head or someone telling
Yeah.
you a story or something.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You could easily get that this is an actual continuity. This is sort of a version
It's
of.
definitely not going to be in a continuity. But,
No, which is fine.
I mean, it's fine as a standalone.
I'm fine with no continuity.
I said in a perfect world that movie would be this whole movie and then the end it like pans out and it's like, you know, present day Joker talking to somebody at Arkham, like convincing them that like, oh, this was my story. Now
Right.
I'm sane. Let me out. Like
Brilliant.
as a
Brilliant.
manipulative
I like
sort
that.
of like, you know, painting this touching, sad, tragic story of a guy who lost, you know, whatever. As a manipulative thing, I think that would be the coolest thing ever. I don't think they're going to do that, but I would lose
like
my
that.
mind. And
I
you
like
heard
that.
it here first. If that does happen,
Oh, wait, here's
You have to
one-
thank
Maybe I'm gonna
Mario
like-
the Oscars. That idea.
I have one more question you won't be able to answer.
Sweet.
The Wonder Woman reshoots that are going on, it's to add your characters in, right?
Oh yeah. You'll see.
yeah.
All my Vision characters will be in there.
Yeah.
Viv, Sparky, Vin. It's a huge crossover.
I do have
there's
two.
CGU in it.
Yeah.
I do have two real end questions, and I want to leave them just for you. Neither of you guys, sorry.
Yeah.
You want us to leave the room? Leave the room.
We're over 80
I'm still
years
thinking
of
of that great idea about the end of the Joker
Yeah, that's
movie.
pretty good. That is fantastic. No, it's over 80 years of Superman and 80 years of Batman this year.
Yes.
What is your favorite moment of each character? Just one moment that always sticks out. You're like, that's what got me into Batman, or that's what I love about Batman, and the same about Superman.
Sure. With Batman, it's, I don't remember which pages, but it's DKR when they have that, this would be a good death, and he's like, this is not, but not good enough. I don't remember exactly, but it's near the end with the mutants, I think, when he's getting shoved into the mud, I believe. Yeah, I remember just as a kid being like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. If you can tell by my work, I'm constantly looking at that, where you create a pattern of a moment. I mean, that's what Mr. Miracle is, right? It's like Darkseid is in the very end, but we are too. Like, that's like the greatest Superman story of them all, or the greatest Superman moment.
Just a moment that you're like, this is why I like this character, something like that.
Oh, man.
Doesn't have to be the comics. Could be the movies. Could be TV.
I want to interject something at the end of your answer.
We were told we're not allowed to.
I want to go from the comics because that's the nerdiest thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. What comes to mind is a random thing from Superman for All Seasons, like the Loeb and Sale one.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know, it was just like a random line that stuck with me. It was like, it was something, I think in the second issue, was like, he could crush us all, but he chooses not to. He makes that choice every day. And just to think of him, I don't know, that reframed how I thought of Superman. Like, yes, he could be evil, and he's not. And what a gift that is to
yeah, that's a good one. Those are two great pulls.
My interjection is my favorite Batman moment of the year was in Heroes in Crisis. It's when he pulls off, when he says with they're like, he's like, I have a plan.
Nobody likes Heroes in Crisis.
No, they said Batman has a plan for everything, and they said something where he was like, oh, no, I don't carry kryptonite in my belt. And they're like, yes, you do. And he's like, no, I would never do that to you. And then Harley robs him of his belt, and sure enough, there's kryptonite in there. And it was just like one of the funniest Batman moments because that was so telling of his character. He's like looking at them dead face, like, I would never do that to you guys.
Do you have the kryptonite? No.
No. Is that in your tool belt? No. What? I wouldn't carry it around with me.
I love that Batman has kryptonite, and I love that Batman's co-workers, teammates also know that. Did you ever see the DC animated the new Teen Titans, where it's Damian and a couple of other kids, and they have to fight an evil Justice League?
Oh, Justice League versus Teen Titans.
There you go. I'm sure it was. I
right.
Obvious answer.
But Damian basically tells him, "Don't worry about Superman. I'll take care of that." And they all look at him and go, "You have a way to take out Superman?" Of course he does. He's freaking Batman's kid.
I like Damian. He's a good character.
Came at him with a kryptonite knife.
Yeah.
All right. So Tom is signing a bunch more of these books for us right now for all of you. They're tons of fun. It's a great issue. It's a great story. Definitely.
It's a great signature.
It's sold out.
And it's sold out. Going to the second print.
This is a thick book, and there's like...
This is a great cover. This is the
Very
Dell
few ads
Otto
in
cover.
The cardstock
And
covers.
this is the Tony Daniel cover. Tom will be signing these. They'll be available for you on midtowncomics.com. Definitely like, share, subscribe. Follow Tom at, where can we follow you at on Twitter and all that fun stuff? Have more people yell at you?
Tom King TK on Twitter.
Excellent. And we'll put it on the screen, everything for you. For Mario, Kristen, for myself, thank you very much. For Tom, thank you for coming in and joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. What a joy it is. And thank you for selling comics and putting food on my table and in my dog's bowl. I can't say how much I appreciate it.
And vice versa.
Yes.
So it's all good. Thank you guys. Have a good one.